We did have a game last night here, guys. The Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
Obviously, Barry, you were out there. We saw you on the sideline before the game. Obviously, a lot of inactives in this game for both the Jets and Browns, the regulars. But Zach Wilson did start for the Jets, 3 of 5, 65 yards. Really the one big bomb, not much going on besides that. It's been a big-time struggle for Zach Wilson to start his career throughout his first 2 seasons. Now Aaron Rodgers' backup, Jay, which takes him out of the spotlight. Maybe not a fantasy-relevant player this year, but in terms of Hall of Fame game storylines, this was about as big as it gets.
Yeah, and it wasn't a great start taking the sack on that third down on the first drive, but a beautiful deep ball which showed, I think, the potential of why he went number 2 in the draft.
Story of Zach Wilson, in five dropbacks.
Yeah, I mean, all the stuff that was swirling around Zach at the end of last season, just the stuff that you would hear was just not great in terms of where he was at, and just the sense that he was just broken as a quarterback. There was just nothing there. I mean, Connor, you're as close to the Jets as anyone. Have you heard that just he's in a better spot now?
Yeah, I think just being out of the spotlight. The relationship with Aaron Rodgers is real, and you saw them laughing on the sideline. Zach Wilson Rodgers had a headset on last night. He apparently called the deep shot play, which goes to show you the serious nature of the Hall of Fame game. So I think mentally he's in a much better place now. He had 5 dropbacks, right? It's hard, and it's the Hall of Fame game. It's hard to have a huge takeaway. We knew he had arm talent, great throw. We knew Zach Wilson can do that. Now it's building that up, and the Jets need to figure out when the time comes that Aaron Rodgers walks away, do they still have their starter behind him, or are they going to have to look somewhere else? So the babiest of baby steps, but still little growth from Zach Wilson this summer.
I think if I was calling offensive plays for the Hall of Fame game, I'd just also call the 57-yard
The
bomb
every time.
Yeah, exactly.
In the mold of
good
NFL
call from Aaron.
blitz. Yeah. Barry, I mean, you were out there. What was the feel, and what did you think of Zach Wilson starting in the Hall of Fame game? We obviously joked around a lot last year when Josh Jacobs was in this game. It's usually a game that you get scared when you see young players with huge expectations that haven't necessarily lived up to it playing in this game. But for Zach Wilson being Aaron Rodgers' backup, it was pretty obvious why.
We talked about this in the offseason. I mean, listen, I have Zach Wilson on the dynasty team that I care the most about. So I am rooting for Zach Wilson, and I think we talked about this, that we thought that the best case scenario to sort of salvage Zach Wilson's career, especially if he was staying in New York, was for the Jets to sign Aaron Rodgers, somebody that Zach Wilson has been very public about his admiration for, that Rodgers was his favorite quarterback growing up. And so coming in there, taking the spotlight off Zach Wilson, to your point, yes, he was broken. The New York media listen, and Zach didn't help himself in a few spots as well. But the fact of the matter is taking the pressure off of him, having the entire spotlight on Rodgers, and having Rodgers as sort of a mentor who clearly seems to be embracing that role with Zach Wilson, I think is huge for this long-term development. And let's be clear, guys. There's a lot of skilled players that are going to be on fantasy rosters on the Jets, starting with Garrett Wilson. Lazard will be a wide receiver 4. Obviously, Breece Hall. We'll see if Dalvin Cook ends up signing there. So the fact that there is a competent backup to 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers is not insignificant this year. Obviously, we hope number 8 plays every game that he wants to play. But the fact is that there's a non-zero chance that we see Zach Wilson in significant action this year. And so there is a chance that he's fantasy relevant, or certainly at least to the players on fantasy rosters. So, yes, it is the babiest of baby steps, but it's a positive step. And all we've seen over the last year is nothing but negative steps for Zach Wilson. So him to come out on a national stage, hit the bomb, look good, look positive. Listen, yes, the Browns were sitting a lot of people too, but make no mistake, Kevin Stefanski plays to win games. You know what I mean? Jay, I think we talked about this off air, but listen, Browns plus 2.5. That was I said that internally to the guys at Football Night in America. I just said Stefanski plays to win, guys. In the preseason, Browns plus 2.5, and obviously that cashed. So I thought it was a really good sign, to the extent there is one, from Zach Wilson.
Yeah, Kevin Stefanski handing Robert Saleh his first ever preseason loss. So the big thrilling upset over on the Browns side of things. They had a couple of backup quarterbacks play. Former Vikings third-rounder Kellen Mond got the start. But, guys, to me, the story was who came in after him, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. A lot of people in the draft community thought he could be a bit of a steal as a day 3 pick in this draft. The Browns take him in the 5th round. Skill set, ideal backup for Deshaun Watson because of his mobility and his ability to play outside of the pocket. 8 of 11, 82 yards, and a touchdown. When you look at DTR last night, Jay, this is someone to me that I've only done two rookie drafts this year for Dynasty, but I got him for free in one of them because you look at Deshaun Watson's history with injuries, you look at DTR's skill set, a 5-year starter at UCLA, highly productive under Chip Kelly all of those years, and yes, it's the Hall of Fame game, yes, it's the second half, but you could see a bit of an electric side to DTR's game.
Yeah, and definitely a hugely friendly fantasy skill set. Obviously, that
100%.
he has 6 carries for 36 yards, looked explosive. I think, yeah, he was the story last night outside of that Zach Wilson bomb. And look, I mean, we all expect that Deshaun Watson is going to bounce back somewhat. And I think Deshaun Watson is clearly going to be the guy this year. They're very invested in him being the guy. But Deshaun Watson was horrific last season. He was terrible. He was close to the worst quarterback in the league. Like, he was Zach Wilson-esque when he was out there. So it's no guarantee that Watson is going to be back to the guy who was, I think, a top 5 quarterback at the end of his time in Houston. So look, I think there are a lot of things on the cards for the Cleveland in the next couple of years. And yeah, if DTR, if he does see any time for whatever reason, more likely because of an injury to Deshaun, then yeah, he's got a hugely fantasy-friendly game.
Barry, any thoughts on DTR as maybe this long stash play in Dynasty because of that mobility?
They like him a lot. I was actually talking to a team source prior to the game who was telling me, yeah, he was all excited. He's like, yeah, DTR's playing the entire second half. Like, we're excited about him. So there's no question. There's a lot of enthusiasm in the building for DTR. I will say, Jay, that there is zero chance. There's literally a 0 chance that Deshaun Watson does not play if he's healthy. It does not matter how good or bad he is. They're paying him $250 million. He will play as long as he is healthy to play. They do have a couple other guys there. So they have Kellen Mond, who we've talked about. I've always had a soft spot for Kellen Mond, former Texas A&M guy. Like, I watch a lot of Texas A&M games, obviously, having grown up in College Station. Kellen Mond was a baller when he played in College Station. So I've always liked him, and I know Stefanski likes him as well. Of course, Mond originally drafted by the Vikings. I'll also say this, and Stefanski likes Mond, although they weren't there in Minnesota at the same time, I don't believe. I will say this, though. They also have Josh Dobbs there. Always kind of like Josh Dobbs. Remember, Josh Dobbs started a game with playoff implications last year for Tennessee. So there's a lot of sort of uncertainty behind Deshaun Watson as to who the backup is, whether it's Mond, whether it's Josh Dobbs, whether it's DTR. But I will say that internally in the building, they're very excited about the potential of DTR. And even though it was the second half and against, kind of a vanilla defense and third stringers, he did nothing to dissuade that enthusiasm last night. I don't mind him as a flyer in Dynasty, not at all.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Deshaun where if he was as bad as he was last year, like exactly how long is the leash? Obviously, he's going to play all of this season no matter what, and probably plays all of next season no matter what. But like, how bad would he have to be for the contract all of a sudden to, create some uncertainty at the position? But yeah, he's clearly the guy for the long term.
On the skill player side of things, we saw a lot of Israel Abanikanda, the 5th-round rookie on the Jets that was drafted out of Pitt. Monster year for Pitt last year, 4.3 speed. On paper, guys, 9 carries, 27 yards, and the touchdown, you kind of shrug. But the touchdown run showed the outside speed as the Dalvin Cook saga, carries on, and we don't know if those sides will find middle ground. The Jets wanting to sign him, if Cook really wants to be a Dolphin or if he wants to be a Jet. Where his health status is and everything beyond that. Abanikanda, Jay, gets a case to showcase himself in the preseason because here's the thing. Michael Carter and Bam Knight, they didn't suit up, but Abanikanda in one play showed something that neither of those guys have, and that is outside speed, which is a big part of Nathaniel Hackett's running game.
Yeah, it feels like Bam Knight is kind of the forgotten guy because he came in and he was pretty good, and then I think he was dealing with some injuries.
We rode the bandwagon for a couple weeks on the show.
Yeah, there was animations and everything about the bandwagon. And I think he got hurt a little bit towards the end of the season. He wasn't quite the same, but I would think that he should have the inside track to be Breece Hall's backup. I know maybe Carter's a bit more established, but do you think that it's viable that Izzy could displace, at least Carter?
It feels like one of those 2024 things where Izzy's on the roster as the 3rd or 4th guy. I think this team will carry 4 running backs, by the way. But the more he could do in the preseason, and look at them last year, right? You lose Breece. Carter was ineffective and is always banged up. And then it came down to a UDFA Bam Knight that, 2% of the fantasy world had heard of. So it goes to show you how quickly your name can be called as a running back. This guy was a 5th-round pick. He has a ton of talent. He's a 20-year-old rookie. So we could sit here and go, man, there's probably not a lot of opportunity for him out of the gate, but it's funny how things can quickly change in maybe the month of November or December.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, just a name to keep on your radar as we see what happens with Dalvin Cook and the Jets.
All right. So many oddities actually out of the Hall of Fame game. First, we had the lights situation where it looked like the game might not go on. The lights were out. But then a even more strange one after the game. This is from Pro Football Talk. The showers wouldn't go on for both the Browns and the Jets. There are rumors going around right now that after he announced his ride or die, Matthew Berry used up all of the hot water. He ran immediately. He shed the suit, immediately used all of the hot water in the stadium, and the Jets and Browns had to fly home without hot showers. Can you confirm this, Matthew Berry?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay, fair enough. All
I'm
right.
going to take no comment. I'm just going to say no. I'm just going to say no comment.
Yeah.
It's a weird one, man, because I feel like every year last year we had a long rain delay as well. Didn't they have to cancel the game 5 or 6 years ago, because the field wasn't unplayable? It's a weird one in Canton, right?
The funny thing to me is, Cleveland is not far from Canton, where this game does not have to be played there. Everybody could kind of get on a bus or a shuttle, but I guess people like tradition, Jay.
Yeah, well, there's two things. There were two rumors floating around last night. One, I can confirm that Matthew Berry used up all the hot water. He's not afraid of a long hot shower, I'm told. Secondly, there are murmurs as well that Matthew Berry was very nervous about his bet on the over last night, that they might call the game because of everything going on, and that there were some phone calls made to stadium staff to make sure that we finish this game and we see this over cash, which ultimately it did, Matthew.
Yes, it did, 33.5. It went off at 34 in some places as well. But, yeah, the overcash, never in doubt. Once I knew the game was playing, look, never in doubt. Never in doubt. Jay, two things, Jay. I mean, first off, you're a degenerate when you're betting on preseason football, like you and I. You and I are both degenerates. And also, I thought we had agreed that we weren't going to talk about our long hot shower together. I thought you and I had sort of made a deal. Hey, this is just us. This is just us, and I'm upset that you've now revealed my showering habits to everyone. Because that was just with you.
Yeah, we were just going to keep that one night in Buffalo on the road to ourselves. That's all right.
Yeah.
Everyone can know about that. That's fun.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.